Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Carl from Planet 40k, and today we're going to go through the new Dynasty codes that the Warhammer community have just released today. So Warhammer community have released this article today on the 29th of September, and they're basically giving a sneak preview of all the Dynasty codes for each dynasty. So first off, going with the Zwar Khan dynasty, which is the new dynasty. It's the dynasty of the Silent King himself. We've already seen this one before, so each time a model with this code loses a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll 1d6, and a 5 plus that wound is not lost. Also, each time a unit with this code is selected to shoot or fight, you can re-roll one wound roll when making the unit's attacks. And finally, when using the protocol of Undying Legions, and when that gets activated, if every unit in the army, excluding Dynasty agents and Catan Shard units, uses this code, you can select both of the command protocol directives instead of just the one. So we saw from a previous video what those directives were for the Zwar Khan Dynasty code. So next, going on to the Siletech Dynasty. So they've got, each time a morale test is taken for a unit with this code, you can re-roll the test. That's not too bad. Instead of following the normal rules for rapid fire weapons, models with this code shooting rapid fire weapons make double the number of attacks if the models are shooting within 18 inches of the target. And finally, when the protocol of the Conquering Tyrant becomes active for your army, if every unit in your army, excluding the Dynasty agents and Catan Shard units, have this code, you can select both of the command protocol directives instead of just the one. So I think this one, the third option, is going to be pretty similar on every single Dynasty code, except it's going to apply to a different protocol. So next we've got the Mefrit Dynasty. They get add 3 to the range characteristics of ranged weapons, excluding pistols. Also, each time a model with this code makes a ranged attack that targets a unit within half range, the armor penetration characteristic of the attack is improved by 1. And finally, as we've already seen, when the protocol of the Vengeful Stars becomes active, you're basically using both directives instead of just the one. The next one on the list, the Novak Dynasty. So they get +1 to charge rolls with units with this code. And each time a model with this code makes a melee attack, if the model's unit made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention this turn, improve the armor penetration characteristic of the attack by 1. Then their Dynasty goes with the protocol of Hungry Void, and then you get to choose 2 directives on that one as well. The Nefric Dynasty models with this code have a 6+ invuln. It's pretty sweet. Each time a unit with this code advances, it can translocate. If it does, do not make an advance roll for it. Instead, until the end of the phase, you just add 6 inches to the move characteristic of the model in that unit. If the unit translocates until the end of the turn, models in the unit cannot shoot. Each time a unit with this code falls back or translocates until the end of the phase, models in the unit can move across other models and terrain as if it wasn't there. That one's nice. It's basically fly, isn't it? And the last one, they interact with the protocol of Sudden Storm, which we saw that yesterday in the Warhammer Community Preview. And on this one, you can choose both the directives there. I'm pretty sure that one was you're adding 3 inches to the movement was Directive 1, and Directive 2 was you can sort of do an action while still firing your ranged attacks. So you can do both with the Nefric Dynasty. The Hilak Dynasty code gives you objective secured ability, and if you've already got the ability, then you count as having 1 additional model when determine control of an objective marker. The second thing is each time an attack with an arm penetration characteristic of -1 is allocated to a model with this code. If the model's unit is wholly within its controller's deployment zone, then the armor penetration characteristic is 0 instead. And finally, they interact with the protocol of Eternal Guardian. So they're getting both directives of the Eternal Guardian. And they've now released the birth of a new dynasty. So you can basically do a DIY custom dynasty, pretty similar to most other factions nowadays where you can create your own. But with the Necrons, you basically pick one option from the dynasty traditions and one from the circumstances of awakening. So I've not seen these lists yet. What is that? Okay, so they're given some examples. So one of the examples of the dynasty traditions is Immovable Phalanx. Each time an attack with a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to an infantry model with this code. Unless that unit's model made a normal move, advance, or fell back this battle round, add 1 to any armor saving throws taken against that attack. Okay. So then you get to choose one of these as well. So here's an example of the circumstances of an awakening. So interplanetary invaders. Vehicle units with this code are eligible to shoot in the turn that they fell back. And if they do, until the end of the turn, each time a model in that unit makes a range attack, subtract 1. So you're getting to fall back with, say, your Doomsday Arc, and you're having to subtract 1. That's not as bad. Vehicle models with this code do not suffer the penalty to hit rolls incurring when firing heavy weapons. So while they're in combat, they can fire heavy without taking the -1. So this just makes their shooting a bit more useful, I guess. So yeah, that's the new Dynasty Codes coming out in the new Codex on the 10th of October. And we'll be going through those in a bit more detail once the Codex has come out. So stay tuned for that. So let me know your thoughts about these new Dynasty Codes. Which ones are you preferring to use? And what combos are you going to use with them? Do you think any of them are overpowered or underpowered? Once that Codex does get released, we'll be able to go through everything. And I mean, I'm presuming each one will have their own type of stratagems as well that interact with the codes. It'll be quite interesting to see how, exactly what the command protocols are, because from the other day when the Warhammer community released their article, then they mentioned that you jot down at the start of the game which protocols you're going to be using each turn, and then when that turn does come, you then decide on what directive you're going to be taking. That can kind of make your army quite versatile, especially mid-game when things are happening where maybe things haven't gone to plan, and you can change up what you're doing, or I don't know, maybe an enemy deep striking unit has sort of really scuppered your plan, so you can change it up on the fly there. And with each different Dynasty Code giving you the option of having both the directives in one turn, that could benefit you hugely as well. I mean, the one they released yesterday, which we've already mentioned, the one where you're doing the action, so you could be raising a banner or whatever other actions they are, but you can still use your ranged attack as well. So you can stick a 20-man blob of warriors on there, be doing the action while still shooting all your Gorse weapons, that's pretty good. And you can also be taking that extra 1-inch movement, which was directive 1 I believe, to get you to that actual objective or place where the banner is. So that will help massively, and if each Dynasty Code has their own one, that will be quite unique to them as well. So let me know what you guys think about those command protocols as well as the Dynasty Codes. When the book does come out, we're going to be doing those reviews. As you've seen from the Indominus box set, we're going to be doing all the reviews, the 5-star reviews, and we're going to be using polls from the Patreon service that we currently do now. So it's a community poll where votes are cast, and whatever the majority is, that's what we're going to go with. So it's a community-based review rather than just what I think or what Eugenio thinks. So yeah, if you want to get involved in that, go onto our Patreon site. The link is in the description below. Just check that out. There's lots of other cool benefits as well, so have a look at that, and I'll see you in the next one.